Former Des Moines Register cartoonist Ding Darling was legendary for his defense of American conservation. The Pulitzer-prize winner crafted numerous cartoons lampooning the destruction of natural environments in the first half of the 20th century. In recent years, a state park bearing his name has completed its own story. Iowa is home to more than 70 state parks and preserves scattered across 99 counties. And while you may enjoy many of them throughout the year, it's easy to take their very existence for granted. Some state parks were forged in the 1930s by the young men and boys of the Civilian Conservation Corps, a far distant time period now, rapidly approaching a century ago. In southeastern Iowa, a lake formed in the 1950s has been meticulously rejuvenated, brought back from years of environmental degradation, in part to honor its namesake. This is the story of Lake Darling State Park. Ding Darling, a Pulitzer-prize-winning Des Moines Register cartoonist, founded the National Wildlife Federation. He crafted stinging, hand-drawn critiques of environmental pollution and sought to steer the public opinion in the direction of conservation and greater demand for parks. Darling himself helped set the gate in 1950 to dam a new lake near Brighton, Iowa. That lake would become the centerpiece for a new state park. But decades of silt accumulation and farm runoff took its toll on Lake Darling.
In the early 2000s, by 2002, we had multiple beach closings to where it was declared unsafe for human contact with the water at the swimming beach and put Lake Darling on the impaired body water list of the state of Iowa.
In Lake Darling's case, we had some major leaking going on in the dam, some infrastructure issues that once engineers looked at it and gave their report, we were in a position to replace major portions and reconstruct that dam versus just repairing.
In 2008, with its dam now leaking and in need of replacement, Lake Darling's future was in jeopardy. When the park needed financial and legislative support, a small volunteer army began to assemble.
A lot of people involved, a lot of different agencies, and of course, partisanship could have been a huge problem, huge stumbling block or hurdle, but it wasn't. I mean, people worked very well together on a common goal, and that was to make this lake better and whole again.
And the Friends of Lake Darling saw our opportunity to jump on the fundraising trail to collect people's enthusiasm, and in doing that, we found we also had to re-educate the community as to who Lake Darling was named after. We rediscovered the spirit of stewardship that J.N. Ding Darling brought to this area, all of Iowa, and to the nation.
The challenges for Lake Darling State Park were tremendous. Lengthy endangered species and archaeological studies could slow the process of replacing an expensive dam. Combined with silt cleanup operations, the new and improved lake costs could climb north of $10 million. The future of a 60-year-old park was in serious doubt.
The Friends of Lake Darling found a seemingly insurmountable project that lay ahead of them, and in order to begin to get started, we forged partnerships with local data mining companies. We forged partnerships with the DNR. We went to soil and water conservation. We listened as much as we spoke.
One organization, the Friends of Lake Darling, were made up of passionate volunteers led by Vittetoe. They forged collaboration and raised money, all in an effort to convince the Iowa DNR to refurbish the 1,400-acre park.
We looked into Ding Darling's life, found the biographies, looked at the old newspapers, looked at the old Isaac Walton minutes and notes, found the names of the leaders, found their grandsons and granddaughters, and realized this was more or less like taking the cover off of their own history. The enthusiasm grew. Every fundraising or every committee meeting, every small group that needed a speaker for their monthly meeting, we were willing to go and talk to them, be it a fundraiser or not, and during that process, re-educate them, let them know that we knew who their ancestors were, that we were connected to their families through them and through the park.
For Lake Darling then, what ends up coming into play is it's what we look at as part of the complete package. Noticing that Lake Darling was suffering from poor water quality, had diminished in terms of recreational opportunities, the fisheries, we start trying to get together and say, okay, do we have a common idea of what the problems are, and where do we start with fixing the lake?
The thing that I think is probably most important about this whole project, it's your project. It's your state park. It's your lake. And never once did I ever hear anybody say, come do this for us. It was always, what can we do for this project?
I thank you, God, for all the time and money and hard work that has brought us to this place. Thank you for the safety of those men and women who have worked so hard to make this restoration possible.
The plan worked. A combination of private donations and legislative spending sparked a $16 million renaissance, and it effectively pushed a reset button, a completely new Lake Darling State Park, new campgrounds, fishing piers, shelters, roads, and trails.
That's an opportunity at a state park for us to look at what needs to be done with the park infrastructure. So it worked out with funding and timing that we were able to revamp this park, put in all new roads, and a brand new campground, replace the old 2 shower buildings with brand new ones, put in some boat ramps and a new shelter, an ADA fishing trail through the cooperation of the Isaac Walton League and the Washington County Riverboat Foundation. So we had lots of opportunities to take this park that needed a lot of work and basically turn it into a brand new park.
Officials removed more than 300,000 cubic yards of silt after draining the 300-acre lake. But an even more important effort was launched to prevent farm runoff from recreating the same issues in another 50 years.
Even if every landowner out here was to T, which is the recommended soil loss limits, that still would be a pretty big load going into the lake. And that was the reason that we chose to put in what we call permanent practices, such as ponds and tile outlet terraces, because it traps 95% of the sediment that drains into them.
Out of 71 farmers in the Lake Darling watershed, park defenders found 59 willing participants to establish modern conservation techniques like retention ponds to keep the new lake clean and clear.
We'd have watershed meetings, and we'd hold it at Brighton at the community hall. And I'm a barbecuer, and we always fed them. And I've had people come down from Des Moines and say, how do you get these people out? I said, you feed them barbecued meat and they'll come. And one of the great things, if you can start right out on the get-go and you show progress. And if you're really showing progress, then people climb on board.
In September 2014, Lake Darling's grand reopening was official. On a sunny day in southeastern Iowa, visitors gathered to honor the legendary cartoonist and conservationist and christen the latest chapter of his legacy.
This watershed has been restored, it has been protected with quality farming, exemplary land stewardship, and now we have remade the park to bring in people from all over. And that can be done one watershed at a time.
Today, a new generation can enjoy a virtually brand new state park, from the fishing piers down to the clear water. And watching over the outdoor scene is the park's namesake, with a view Ding Darling himself would appreciate.